The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Randy Anderson with Advanced Fiber Optics. And I guess for some of you, it's good afternoon, and others, it's good evening. We've got a good audience to listen to what I have to say today. We're very excited about having this discussion. We think we're going to take about 30 minutes of your time is all. And mainly the idea today is to point out some current features in OSP Insight and a new product that we have. These are all focused around remote fiber testing. Initially, when we initially designed OSP Insight, you could make the argument that the reason that we designed it was to be able to create a system that would find fiber optic cuts very easily. And with that, as I said, OSP Insight was designed, and in order to have a good remote fiber test system, you need a map associated with it. The reason that you'll have a remote fiber test system is to monitor the things that you see on the screen. So, for instance, if you have a critical link, the question is, or the statement could be, all modern network topology includes diverse routing. And is that right? And of course it's not. It's wrong. Bottlenecks, pinch points, and critical paths are very common. So the ability to deploy a physical layer monitoring solution for the integrity and degradation is very important. Let's look at high security. Fiber optic networks are immune to tapping and interception, right? Wrong. Specific security and military applications depend on secure communication. So again, the ability to monitor the physical layer is important. I think everybody gets the concept here. Network element control plane can solve all network issues. Is that right? Of course not. It's wrong. Low BERT may be due to transmission, optical layer, or physical layer impairment. Again, the need to be able to monitor. Theft and vandalism. Thieves and vandals are only after copper cable. Right? Wrong. Fiber is often mistaken for copper cable by thieves. Also, vandals know the significance of fiber optic cables, and therefore they are a target. Again, we need to be able to monitor those things. Submarine cables. We're starting to see a lot of need for monitoring here. Critical weakness of the subsea cable is malicious damage and impact from fishing. All subsea systems require expensive COTDR technology. Is that right? I think I just heard everybody said wrong. With up to 200 kilometers of range, traditional fiber monitoring provides a highly effective and cost-sensitive alternative. About key clients, this is something that we run into a lot. All customers are the same. Of course they're not. Different SLA in place with high priority clients, financial institutions, government, sports events, etc. So with all of this, typically when we talk about an RFTS system, we're talking about a system that starts about $80,000 US and can easily ramp up to over 100K. And so at least our clients, our customers in the past, have seen this as cost prohibitive. But a piece of equipment we've been using lately internally here at AFO to test with, and that some of our clients have started to use, is a system called Fiber Guardian. Now, what it is many of you have heard of NQMS Fiber from Expo, and that's Expo's enterprise-wide remote fiber test system. Fiber Guardian is essentially a piece of that system. It's one remote test unit. And the significance of Fiber Guardian is, first of all, it's the only true standalone remote test unit available today. No additional PC or server is required. Very easy to install and provision. Can monitor multiple routes, powerful alerting methods, and easily leverage previous investments in GIS and OSS. This last part is really where I want to focus on today, but suffice it to say that the Fiber Guardian unit, you can get into a unit like this for under $30,000 US. And if you look at the situations that I went over in this presentation so far, that's a very small investment compared to the return that you're going to get on that. So we're pretty excited about this piece of equipment. And what I want to do today is show you how OSP Insight can link with the Fiber Guardian unit. We've went over things before where we've talked about how OSP Insight will link to NQMS Fiber, but today I want to focus on the Fiber Guardian unit. So essentially, I can take one of these units, put it in a rack very easily, and plug in my fiber. It'll automatically figure out the configuration of the route, and then I can just go from there. And that's what I want to look at today is how to go from there. I'm going to stop this PowerPoint at this point, and I want to talk a little bit about OSP Insight. So we have a mixed group of people on the call today. Some have used OSP Insight, some haven't. Those who currently have an investment in OSP Insight, I want to cover how OSP Insight will link with Fiber Guardian today at this time. Later in the call, I'll talk to those who haven't made an investment in OSP Insight yet, or maybe even GIS in general, and show a solution that we've created for them. So what I've got here is a fiber optic system, fiber optic network that I've created, and with that I've created a route, and we'll map this route. Now this is an optical route that starts from here, goes throughout these fiber optic cables, and ends at this point. If I want to look at the details of that route, I can pull that up in edit mode. And you'll see the flags show the starting and the ending of the route. And then this matrix, or this grid, shows all of the details of that route, where it starts, the cable, the fiber in the cable, the splice point, again, the fiber, these two that splice to this fiber. I get the physical lengths and optical distances. So in the database itself, I've got, you can see the optical distance to these splice points and these termination points on down. That's the distance when I input this data into the database. However, if I want to link that to an OTDR, or in this case the Fiber Guardian unit, I want to be able to see where these various events are at, mainly the splice, the termination points, so that I can get an exact measurement or an exact mapping to that event between the OTDR trace and OSP Insight. So all I need to do is come in. Now I've got access to my Fiber Guardian unit. All I needed, it was very simple, was to put in the IP address of the Fiber Guardian unit. It's plugged into my network. I'll log in. And now I'm into my Fiber Guardian unit. I can go ahead and from here, I'm able to look at this RTU. And this particular RTU, or remote test unit, you can see the ports. I've got an 8-port unit set up here, and I've got one of the ports active. All I did was plug in the fiber, hit detect, and Fiber Guardian went through and detected that particular port. I can see here that I've also turned it on so that I'm continuously monitoring. So I can look at a test queue, and I can see every 15 seconds I've got the remote fiber test unit monitoring my network. I can see I've got it's monitoring at this very second. I can also see that it's picked up some degradation in the system that I'm monitoring. And I'll use this in a minute to show you how we'll see this, but it says that I've got some degradation at 468 meters. What I've done, now the question is, how can I see where that 468 meters is on the map? Anyone who's on this call is very interested in maps and how the test data will lay over the mapping data. So what I needed to do on this was for the optical route that I'm monitoring, I'm able to give it a physical route ID. And that physical route ID corresponds to the saved route in OSP Insight. And so that's my link between the port in the Fiber Guardian that I'm monitoring and OSP Insight. So if I look back over to OSP Insight, I can see that this is indeed saved route number 1. And I'm going to link this saved route to my Fiber Guardian unit. Now what I want to be able to do on that is I want to be able to look at, I'm going to start from this location here. I'm going to look at the OTDR trace associated with this. But instead of looking at it there, I'm going to just do an ad hoc test where I chose this particular port number 1. And it's going to take 15 seconds to run through this and look at the fiber optic route that I'm monitoring. As it's doing that, what I want to mention is, well, I'll hold off on that for right now. What I want to mention is that I want to remind everybody that this week is the last week, or the last week of our craziest splice cut competition, and I'll visit that on our website here in a minute. We've got our 2 finalists for the locations of the craziest craziest fiber cut story. I'll get back to that in a second. So in the meantime, we've got our trace that we can see here. I can see the events, and I can see that I've got, if I zoom in, it's not the cleanest OTDR trace in the world. The network that we're plugged into is a local one that we've got here just for testing purposes. But you can see I've got some reflection events, so I've got a port that I'm terminated at here, and I've got some splice loss here, and I've got the end of my system. So you can see at this point, at about 362 meters, I've got an event on down to this point all the way through. So if I take this information, I want to map that to OSP Insight. So if I look at the first one, I've got a termination point at, it's at about 362 meters. So I'm going to say, as far as the map is concerned, it's 345 meters, but the OTDR trace tells me that that point is 362 meters. So I'm going to input that. Oops. Sorry, we'll put it here. There we go. So we've got this point here. I can also put this in at, we've got a splice point here at 736 meters. And we've got a splice point at 975 meters. Whoops, it tells me the end is 938. Oh, I got to put that in first, so it's, we know that that total distance is 1,080 meters. As far as the OTDR trace is concerned, 975 meters. So what I've done here is I've matched these with these distances. So again, 1080 or 1081 for the total length of the system, about 977 meters for this splice point, and then these termination points back behind here. So now my data in OSP Insight should, at those points, exactly match the OTDR trace. Notice that the beauty of this is, in a lot of our competitors' systems, they don't have a scale factor at the fiber level. The scale factor is at the cable level. So what will happen is they change the length of the cable, so therefore it changes the length of all the fibers in the cable. We're only changing the lengths of the fibers that we're monitoring. And we're only changing those lengths by adjusting the scale factor, not the physical length itself. So you can see that we've got some scale factor adjustments here. So I know that that all looks good. I'm going to apply it, and I'm going to hit OK. So now the next question is, how do I get alerts? You may have noticed here in the corner, I think that you're able to see this on your screens, a message keeps coming up that says OSP Insight Alert New Fiber Alarm Event. What we've done is on the Fiber Guardian test, or on the Fiber Guardian system, we've set up some users. And we're logged in here, and I set up an email address that's going to email alarms to. Now, we've also set up an SNMP trap address that I'll explain that here in a few minutes. But right now, every time there's an alarm, it's going to email. And what happens is it emails to that address, and we've got our OSP Insight alarm monitor set up. And I've set that up to be able to listen to this email address, and it's also linked to the NTK file or the OSP Insight file that I'm testing. So you'll see that these alarms come up, and I get various alarms that'll happen during the day. You've seen those go on here. So now if I look at my RFTS monitor in OSP Insight, you'll see that I've been getting these alarms coming through. I've got this one, this degradation that it showed me at 468 kilometers. So I've mapped my OTDR trace to this. I can hit find fault, and it's going to show me the position of that alarm. And I can look now. I've got the NQMS fiber system set up so every so often it sends me an alarm just to say that nothing's happened to the alarm, so it'll stay pending. And it gives me a medium severity because it's a degradation as opposed to a break. So if I had a break, I'd be able to see, like in these others, that it says it was a break. On these ones, they've all been resolved, but I can also click there and show where that particular alarm would have been. And if I've got a number of alarms, I can show them all at one time. This one again. So that's how OSP Insight, if you've already got your investment in OSP Insight, you can directly link to the Fiber Guardian unit. So if you haven't got a remote fiber test system yet in your network, and it would surprise me if you wouldn't need one, because most everyone I talk to always has occasion where they wish they had could have their hands on a unit that's so easy to use and access. The beauty with the Fiber Guardian unit is once it's on my internet, I can access from wherever I am, and I can use it any way that I need to as far as monitoring these networks. Some of our users like it, or have said they like it because, for instance, one of the companies was having a lot of vandalism problem in a certain area. And so the idea for them was that they'd be able to plug that into some fibers into that area for a couple of months just to try to track down the vandals, or at least be able to get there quicker. So with the size of the investment, it's easy to move this thing around and work with it wherever you want. Okay, so that's how it currently works with OSP Insight. We've got, however, or on top of that, a pretty exciting product that we've started to work with at Advanced Fiber Optics. And this one, we call it Fiber Test Insight. Now, Fiber Test Insight was originally designed for companies who want to buy a Fiber Guardian unit, and they haven't made any investment in a GIS of any sort. The reason that this is important for companies is you buy the Fiber Guardian unit, you're able to see, hey, now I've got a break that's a kilometer away, but where is it? A lot of these companies, they haven't invested in GIS, in a GIS system, and they don't want to invest a lot of money in a GIS system. So we've made a really cost-effective alternative to OSP Insight. The key with Fiber Test Insight is it's designed to draw a fiber route. The lines that you see don't necessarily represent cables. Like if I click on this line, I don't really get any information about it. It just represents a fiber route. So for instance, say in this particular area, or actually, This fiber route that you see right now, first of all, I'm going to save some edits I'd done before. You can see down here, I've been getting alarms. I've got an alarm at this same distance. Now this particular route won't correspond to the one that I just showed you in OSP Insight Edit. This is one that we just drew for testing purposes. But you can see that I'm logged in to the same Fiber Guardian unit, and I'm able to do that by a web service that the Fiber Guardian will support. Fiber Test Insight can sit on a server somewhere, so it can be internet-based, or this can sit right on your own personal computer. As long as you have Windows 7 and IIS, you can load this directly on your own personal computer. The maps that I'm showing you are all Bing maps, and that makes it so that you don't have to make a big investment in maps, but you still have a decent GIS system. So you can also see that with this, not only do I get these SNMP traps now that I'm able to have, but I can also map it. You'll see where that trap would have been. Again, this is just on this particular network. So I'm able to see that I've got a fault, say at this location. The other things that I can do with this is I can put a marker out there. I can say, well, I want to see where 1,000 feet is. I can mark it. Now you see this marker along this. You see the marker distance up here. You see the total route length here, and you see the units. So if I want to move this or convert this into feet, I can go into, or I'm sorry, meters. I can go into admin, and now you see it's in meters. So now that mark is set to meters as well. So as you go along, you'll see the distances in meters as opposed to feet. I can also come in and modify this route. So say I want to come in and edit it. I can move this around. Really simple. Just here on my map, I can come in, move these things around. If I want to add a different, say I want to add another route, say on a different port, I can save what I was just doing there. I could click here and say, let's edit this. Call it test 2, my test 2 route. And now I'm just going to double click. As I double click, it'll add nodes here. Say I want to come over here and I'm just too lazy to draw it. I can do a Bing route. I can just double click over here. And then Bing will go ahead and fill that in. I can come back and I can move these nodes around if I want to. Let's just see here. Really, really easy to create routes. Now some will say, well, that's a line, so who cares? You know, it's just a line. What if I have slack loops? What if I have splice points? Well, of course we've thought of that. So if I want to come in here, say I want to create that as a splice point at that location, and I just wonder, I'm going to throw my marker on this. So up here, it's about, as I zoom in, it's about 1,800 meters to this splice point right there. But say instead of it being really 1,900, the OTDR says it's 1,910. Well, I can edit that. So if I come in here, I can say, no, that's a splice point, and we'll spell these out. But for right now, I can go, that's a splice point, and it's supposed to be 1,910 meters at that point. Oh, by the way, I have 4 meters of slack in and 5 meters of slack out, and I'll save that. Now I've got a splice point, so as I go there, the distance override will tell me what I've got. So as I come around, you can see the distances change. Maybe I find out that I've got a slack loop at this point. So I can come in here, add a slack loop. It's got an override distance. Actually have a bug there. That shouldn't show up. But we do have, I can go ahead and put in slack distance. So I've got 10 meters of slack at that point. So I can build this route very easily, just like I would or very similar to the way that I do in OSP Insight. The thing that really is nice about this, I'm just going to go ahead and save that. Then I've got this other route that I can monitor. But what's interesting about this setup to me is say I've got a customer on a different part of the world. We've got some great partners in, I'll talk about South Africa. So I've got a customer here in Pretoria, and they just bought a Fiber Guardian unit and say they're going to put it here to the Hallmark building. So obviously I can easily change some things around, but just to show you, I can reset my RTU location. I can come in here and say it's going to be the Hallmark building. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete that route that I had drawn before, and I'll save that. And I'm going to delete the other route that I had before, and I'll save that. So I'm going to draw a new route here. So now I can come in and edit and draw a route in Pretoria, South Africa. Now I've got that route drawn. And I can save it anywhere in the world. The Bing maps are pretty good. If I want to look at an aerial view, I can. I even have the ability to do a reverse geocode. We'll see if it works in South Africa. There you go. I reverse geocoded that building. I can find that. If I want to find a given address, I can search for an address. So let's say I was searching for that address. So pretty powerful how Fiber Test Insight can be so easily implemented. And now assume that I was getting this, say, we're still getting alarms. You can see that my alarms keep updating here on this degradation that I've got. Now that I've got that put in here, let's map it. You can see that that degradation would have mapped to this point right here, at 400 meters away. Turn these maps off. And I can do any number of routes. In this particular Fiber Guardian unit, I have 8 ports, so I could do 8 different routes. And each of the routes is going to be a different color, and we kind of colored them by the color code: blue, orange, green, brown, slate, white, red, black, yellow, violet, rose, aqua, to correspond to the fiber color codes. It doesn't necessarily mean you're on Fiber 1 or Fiber 2. It's just a color scheme that we use. But again, I think the real power of this, especially for our international partners or anybody, is that it's so easy to have a map to pull up and to utilize in that way. So the next thing I want to do is the other question that we'll be getting will be, first of all, I want to delete that route. There we go. Save it. I'm going to come back over here. Another thing that we've been working on is, what if we have an OSP Insight user who's already put in the investment with OSP Insight and they want to use Fiber Test Insight? Well, what we've done is we've created an application where I can come in here and I'm linked to this. I can open up the network that I'm working on and I can simply export that route. So I'm going to export that saved route, and I'm going to go into my FTI, or Fiber Test Insight, and I'm now going to import that route. It's in meters. I'm going to import it. There it is. So this is the route that we were just looking at. I'm going to set the RTU location right there and save it. And what that's done is you'll be able to see it's brought over the termination panels and the splice points. So as I click on them, you can see that it's brought in the slack and the distances, so that now they should correspond. And again, on this particular, again, this is just for demo purposes. You're not going to be moving things around like I am here, but for the purposes of what I've been doing, I'm still linked to the Fiber Guardian unit that keeps giving me alarms. So if I wanted to map that location, I can map these locations just as easy as I was before. Okay, so there you have it. That is OSP Insight Edit and how it links with the Expo Fiber Guardian unit, as well as our new product, Fiber Test Insight, that, like I say, we've been working on. We're very excited about. We think that our partners around the world are going to have a lot of fun selling that. Now, what I'd like to do is just bring up one thing, just as a reminder. On ospinsight.com, we have our Craziest Fiber Break Tournament. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to go around and peruse some of these breaks. We have a bunch of stories of how some of the crazier fiber breaks that we've heard. This started about a month ago, and it's now come down to two finalists. And go ahead and take a minute when you do have a minute. Go to ospinsight.com. Look at these two stories. We have the slide, which is a pretty interesting story, and we have this Unstoppable. These are our two finalists on the Craziest Fiber Break contest. And when you get a chance, go in to vote. Looks like Unstoppable's ahead right now. Have some fun with that. Check out some of the craziest fiber breaks that you've seen. And for those who want more information on Fiber Test Insight or on Fiber Guardian, feel free to give us a call. We do represent the Fiber Guardian unit, so we can help with that. And of course, OSP Insight. Let me see if there's any questions. Give me just 1 minute to look at the questions here. I guess while I'm doing that, you can all go and vote for your favorite fiber break. We have one question that says, how is the monitoring system connected in order to see 1,000 fibers and monitor all of them simultaneously? So if you've got 1,000 fibers, and I'm assuming when you say 1,000 fibers that you're saying you have 1,000 different ports that you want to monitor, then we'll just need to get you set up with the right amount of RTUs. And that's probably more of an NQMS fiber system. But again, if you've got 10 ports in 100 locations, you need 10 RTU units. See if there's another one. The question here is, do you have to disconnect the fiber in question and connect it to the Guardian? I think you're wondering if you can test on live fibers, and with the Fiber Guardian you can. You can test at a different wavelength. Then we've got some other specific questions. There's one on what is the availability of Fiber Test Insight. There's still a few kinks that we're working out on this, but we're very close. We've been spending a lot of time on the SNMP alerting and on being able to pull the data in properly from OSP Insight for those users who want to do that. But we're feeling very close. We've got a couple of companies who want to start using it pretty soon, so we'll have it in their hands. If you want information on cost, you can go ahead and contact myself or contact one of our partners. Feel free, as far as our partners go, I'll send you back to our OSP Insight web page, and you can look at our partner section, our sales rep page, and you'll see that we've got sales reps around the world, which will be shown here by Digital Globe, Google. So that's our partner page. Okay, that's everything. Feel free to contact me if you need to. I'm at randya@advancedfiber.com. That's RANDYA@advancedfiber.com if you want any more information or contact our partners or salespeople. Thanks a lot.